Hello and welcome to Talk to Stu with me, Stuart Magoo. And in this video we are looking at the Universal Credit Capability for Work questionnaire. And this will also apply to people who are still on ESA and are having to have a review, as well as the Work Capability Assessment form is pretty much the same for both, with only really differences in formatting and instructions of where to submit it and things like that. So we're going to be going through the form step by step, coming up in just 1 second, and you'll be seeing it on the screen as well. So you should find that helpful overall. So let's get into it. So if you are on Universal Credit or ESA at some point, if you are signed off as unfit to work by your doctor, or if you have a health problem or disability that prevents you from being able to work, then you will likely have to go through a work capability assessment. Obviously, this is quite a cause for concern for many people, and filling in the form can be difficult and time-consuming if you don't know what you're doing. And indeed, we can come up against problems as we're filling it in that the language in some of the questions can be a bit confusing. So I'm going to go through the form with you today just to show you a few ideas of how you might fill it in. And as with all of these videos, they tend to be quite long, so you might want to skip through to different parts of the video. That's absolutely fine. If there are certain sections that you're interested in over others, and yeah, it hopefully will be helpful to you in filling out the form. But I always do recommend, where possible, get one-to-one support from a professional. I am aware that support available is thin on the ground, and indeed there are a lot of waiting lists, so it can be tricky. But do try and find support if you can. If you are looking for support, there will be a link to the Turn to Us advice finder, which will help you to locate services in your area that might be able to support you with completing the form. Okay, so let's transition over now. Here it is. What a beauty. What a beauty. We do love the work capability questionnaire. So let's start to work through it. Now on the front page you have a lot of instructions here. Please do read the instructions carefully if you're able to. If you're unable to due to accessibility reasons, then or you need it in a different language, then please call them on the 0800 number there, and they will be able to send you a Braille large print audio version if needs be. And yeah, it's important that you speak to them about what accessibility needs you have. It will need to go back to the Health Assessment Advisory Service by the date on the letter, so make sure you make note of that. You must send it back within time. If you are unable to send it back within time, then again get in touch with them to see if you can get that extended. It's a little more difficult to get one of these extended than it is with PIP, but in certain circumstances an extension can be granted, such as if you are waiting for one-to-one support and you're on a waiting list and those people can't get to it in time. An important thing to remember is quite often you will have the work capability questionnaire return date happening at around about the same time as the work capability face-to-face assessment, or it might be a telephone assessment in some circumstances, and they might happen at the same time. And you might think, well, you know, are they going to have time to read my form What you should remember is those two assessments are done separately, and then that is sent through to the decision maker to make the final decision. So the form and the face-to-face assessment do not necessarily inform each other. Okay, so as I say, make sure you read the questionnaire carefully, and as it says here, make sure you answer all the questions in full. That's really very important. It also says to write in black ink. This is because they scan the forms once they're received, and if you want to, you can fill it in using the PDF version on the computer as you like, or you can print it out and do it by paper, and you may have been sent a paper copy as well. So also make sure that you include all copies of your medical or other information as well, and it must be copies, not original documents. So try and get copies where you can. A local library is usually good for copying. If you're on a low income, that can help. Generally speaking, if it's medical documents that you might have got from your GP surgery, then again, the surgery will have those on record, so you can send those off because you'll always be able to get another copy if needs be. But if it's doctor's reports, doctor's letters, or letters from specialists, anything like that, then do send copies and keep the originals because you might need them again in future. Those are the main things. So first of all, about you, fairly simple: surname, other name, Mr. and Mrs., title, address, postcode, very important, date of birth, very important, and of course your national insurance number. Now, if you're not sure what your national insurance number is, it will probably have been included on any communications that you have with the DWP. If you are filling this in through your Universal Credit account, you will have already used your national insurance number when setting that up. But if you're ever unsure of where it is, you can always look on your bank statement, because any payments that you have received from the DWP will always use your national insurance number as a reference. So you'll be able to find it out from there. Make sure you include a phone number that they can contact you on. Now, what I would suggest, if you have had a change in phone number, and people that are on a low income who sort of switching from one pay-as-you-go provider to another often do have changes in phone number, to make sure that you don't have any problems with your assessment going through, make sure that you update your phone number with Universal Credit directly. Don't just put it in here for the first time, because it may cause a problem. They should pick up on it if it's a different number and update it, and if they don't, that is something that you can challenge. If you wrote it in here clearly, that is a way of informing them. But just to make sure that there aren't any sanctions or aren't any problems with that, give them a call or use your Universal Credit journal to inform them that there's been a change of phone number. Also pop in your email if you have it. Next question, very important. Have you been in hospital for over 28 days in the last 12 months? A lot of people will be putting no to that, and you can go straight to the next question. But if, of course, you are putting yes, make sure that you have the dates that you were in and the date that you left and the name of the hospital. Try and give the full name. If it includes the area that it's based in, that would be good. Very important to do. Have you also helps if you've got a discharge letter that backs that up as well. Have you served in Her Majesty's Forces or His Majesty's Forces now? You can click no if you haven't, but if you have, then do make sure to indicate which one it was, and your date of leaving. If you haven't left and you're still there, then you would maybe leave that in, but chances are if you're claiming for universal credit, you will have already left. Have you been released from prison in the last 6 months? Again, make sure if that it does apply to you that you indicate and the date that you've left, and the same again with pregnancy. Are you pregnant? And the due date of the child. If you're returning this questionnaire late, so if for some reason you aren't able to get in touch with them to request an extension for the return of the questionnaire, if, for example, if you're in hospital and you haven't been able to, or if it's actually a mistake on the part of the DWP as to why you're returning it late, whatever the reason is, make sure you click here and then give the reasons as to why in this section. Be as detailed as you like. They give you plenty of space, and obviously if you are in hospital at the time for any reason, then they won't be expecting it until the earliest date after that, but it will need to be put in there so they can assess whether that was genuine or not. What's next? So, GP or doctor's surgery, very important one this. So make sure you get the name of your GP and their surgery in there. Shut the door in the background. There we go. About other healthcare professionals, carers, friends or relatives who know the most about your disability, illness or health condition. So again, in addition to your GP, some GPs are really good and, get in touch with the person, particularly if they've got mental health conditions or long-term health conditions quite regularly. But it might also be that you are seeing some sort of consultant, specialist doctor, psychiatrist, specialist nurse, psychiatric nurse, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, social worker, support worker or personal assistant, and of course a carer, which for a lot of people is going to be a family member. So put their name, their job title it says there, but if they're a carer, just put at-home carer, something like that, if that's the case, their address and their phone number. So what we're looking for here is the people who know the most about your disability, illness, or health condition. They should know what effect the disability, illness, or health condition has on your ability to do things on a daily basis. They don't always contact them, so it's important you send all of your medical or other information back with the questionnaire. So this can be quite good if you've got somebody who is caring for you and they know a lot about your condition, that they could write a report, which they would need to sign and date as well, putting their name and address on it. That explains how your disability or condition affects you and the kind of support that they give. So that can be quite useful, and you can then include that in there as well. So they want to then know about any medical conditions or other information that you already have around your disability or health. So they want to look at reports, care or treatment plans and medical test results. So they want to see information coming from GPs, hospital doctors, specialist nurses, psychiatric nurses, physiotherapists, social workers, support workers, learning disability, support teams, counsellors or carers. Hospital passports are acceptable, educational health plans are acceptable, a diary of your symptoms and things like that is also acceptable. Long stay hospital information, as mentioned earlier, is also useful. Test results could be anything where there was a test involved, scans, audiology, got my hearing aids on here, very useful. Result of x-rays, Not necessarily the x-rays themselves, they don't want to see them, they just want to see the actual report that comes on the back of it. And things like your current prescription list, statement of special educational needs, again, epilepsy, seizure diary, or a certificate of visual impairment. If you have got sight loss, or whether that's severely sight impaired or just sight impaired, whichever it is, you could have a certificate of visual impairment. Those things are done by the local authority. They're the ones that usually hold the register, but it might be contracted out to a sight loss charity in your area. Generally, when you see your ophthalmologist at the NHS department, they should, once you're diagnosed, ask you or talk to you about getting registered for a CVI. CVIs can be quite useful, particularly when it comes to filling in forms like this, or for PIP. What they do not want to see are photographs. Okay, they don't want to see any photographs at all of any part of your body. So just bear that in mind. They're not interested in any other benefits that you're on. They say they're not interested in fact sheets about your medication. That's kind of true. Quite often we'll get fact sheets put in our medication boxes, or we might download things off the internet. They're not wanting to see that because they can access all that stuff themselves through Google, or they should do. Whether they do or not is a different question, but they should access that through Google, internet printouts, statements of fitness for work, fit notes, sick notes. They go to different places, and they say no to appointment letters as well. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one because quite often we need to demonstrate that somebody is in pursuit of a diagnosis for a condition that they have, and they might be being assessed by neurology, maybe the vascular departments as well, things like that. So we kind of want them to know that that is the case. However, that will be all recorded on your medical records as well. So if you're able to get a printout from your GP, that might suffice. Or it may be something that they request anyway, as a matter of course. But for me, if there's something important to get across and you are in that diagnosis process, then I would always include it, and again as copies, if you are specifically referencing that appointment for any reason. So yes, as I say, make sure it's copies. If they don't want it at the end of the day, they'll just scan it and then shred it. So, or just shred it. Cancer treatment. This is very important. During multiple court cases over the years, cancer treatment is now a thing that if you are in the process of receiving cancer treatment, you should get a certain level of automatic entitlement to the work capability amount that's included with Universal Credit or ESA. So it's important to make sure that you fill this in. If that is the case, you will need to have a section filled in by a healthcare professional, which is on page 24. It could be a GP, hospital doctor, or clinical nurse who's aware of the treatment. So you are just jumping through and ticking those boxes and doing that. If, of course, you have additional problems on top of the cancer, then you need to fill in the rest of the questionnaire, because it may well come to be that the cancer treatment finishes. Ordinarily, at that point, the claim would finish after a reasonable period of time after the cancer treatment is finished. But if you have other health conditions, it might be that that should continue being paid to you. So, about your disabilities, illnesses, or health conditions, let's have a look at this.